Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to read an article entitled Australia's New Defense Geography. So it's one of its boldest steps. Australia's new defense strategy and force structure reviewing is proposing a radical definition of the geographical reach of Australia's strategic priorities. It rejects the expansive view of Canberra last major defense policy statement, the 2016 Defense White Paper, which accorded equal priority to local, regional, and global missions and commitments. Commander Peter Lockwood from the Guided Missiles Frigate HMAS Darwin watches from the bridge as LRHMS Hobart, the New Zealand frigate HMNZS Taymana, HMAS Arunta, and HMAS Anzac sail out of Sydney Heads 28 February on their way to intensive warfare training off the coast of New South Wales. Instead, the Defence Review says defence planning will focus on Australia's immediate region, ranging from the northeastern Indian Ocean through maritime and mainland Southeast Asia to Papua and New Guinea and Southwest Pacific. This is, in theory, quite an important shift. The definition of Australia's area of strategic interest has always been a key factor in determining its strategic posture and the kind of force it needs. Dedicates there has been a policy tug-of-war between those who think Australia's defense should focus closer to home and those who argue for a broader view. Since the 1970s, the regionalists have most prevailed until the 2016 White Paper endorsed a more global view. The Defense Review seems to mark a return to the regionalist perspective, refocusing defense strategy on Australia's own backyards as strategic risk in Asia's growth. But things are not that simple. The new review defines immediate neighborhood in a very expansive way, extending from Australia territory all the way up through mainland Southeast Asia to the border of China and India. According to the review, this vast area constitutes a single undifferentiated region of strategic priority for Australia. This departs from how regionalist policymakers have traditionally seen the region. Key policy statements like 1987 and 2000 Defense White Papers divided the wider region into a series of concentric bands and gave a higher priority to those closer to Australia. This provided a robust basis for setting defense force priority by making it clear, for example, that for maritime operations in Australia immediate approach had a bigger priority than forces for land operation on the Asian continent. At the core of Canberra regionalist policies over many decades is priority given to the defense of Australia itself from direct attack. This priority seems to have been completely dropped in the Defense Review. The defense of Laos now seems to have the same priority for Australia's armed force as the defense of its own continent. This seems absurd, but it meshes with another significant shift in the way the review described Australia's defense policy. Since the early 1970s, every Australian government has committed itself to the goal of defense self-reliance. The idea that Australia should be able to defend itself against direct attack without relying on the armed forces of its allies. This commitment has heavily watered down for the first time in the 2016 white paper, and it has almost entirely disappeared in the defense review. Natural conclusion to draw from this is that the government has abandoned the idea of self-reliance and now believes that its security depends on fighting alongside allies as far from its shores as possible. This marks as a return of the policy of war defense, which shaped Australian forces and drove its commitment in the 1970s and 1960s. Forward defense fell out of favor after the failures for Vietnam War, but perhaps it helped Australia and its neighbors to navigate the turbulent 1950s and 1960s. And one could argue that self-reliance was only ever taken serious in relation to the relatively weak threats that could be posed by Indonesia. No government has a serious tool of defending Australia independently against a major power like China, which is the contingency we must take serious today. So perhaps a return for forward defense is a good idea. That depends on three things. First, can Australia be sure of funding allies in its new and expensively defined immediate neighborhood to fight alongside? And the second, if the crunch came, would Australians be willing to fight so far from their own shores? The memory of Vietnam should create caution about committing future security towards in Asia. And the third, can Australia be sure that it could make an effective military contribution to a major ASEAN war so far from its shores? Not on the evidence of the defense review, which despite all the hype leaves Australia's future force plans and defense budget virtually unchanged. So a return to forward defense look at this stage a risky and ill-considered policy. And this matters because this policy concept shaped real decisions involving many billions of dollars. The new defense reviewing priority for its supersized vision for Australia's immediate neighborhood will drive investment toward power projection forces, which are going to be sitting ducks for the new maritime denial forces proliferating in the region. So time is up. Bye bye and see you on my next video. Bye.